Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm a camera critic and today I'm reviewing Judas and the Black Messiah. Now, before I get into my review about this, I just want to say this was a pretty hard movie for me to get through. I think mainly because I already knew the story. I didn't know every detail, of course. There were a lot of things in this movie that I didn't know happened or I was unaware of. But I did know the overall story of Fred Hampton and William O'Neill. This is based on a true story. And I think because I already knew the outcome of the movie, I think that made it a little more nerve-wracking for me. It made me more nervous, more anxious. There were a few times where I had to pause the movie and just take a breath and then come back to it because I knew what was going to happen. Judas and the Black Messiah stars Daniel Kaluuyah as Fred Hampton and Lakeith Stanfield as William O'Neill. It's directed by Shaka and it's also produced by Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler, if you remember, he directed Black Panther and the Creed movies, and also Fruitvale Station. So this movie is basically about Lakeith Stanfield's character, William O'Neill. He becomes an informant for the FBI and infiltrates the Black Panther Party. One thing I did not know until doing research in preparation for watching the movie was how young both of these individuals were. William O'Neill was 17 when he first infiltrated the Black Panther Party, and Fred Hampton was 21. So they were pretty young, especially by today's standards. They were pretty young. So O'Neill is basically a career criminal by the time he's 17. He was a car thief. He had gotten arrested for kidnapping, home invasion, and torture. And he impersonated an FBI agent in order to steal a car from someone. And this is how he gets connected to the FBI. He is caught and recruited by FBI agent Roy Martin Mitchell. And this agent befriends him and basically tells him he's facing 18 months in prison for stealing the car, but then also 5 years in prison for impersonating an agent. And of course, O'Neill doesn't want this to happen, so they get him to infiltrate the Black Panther Party. First, he just comes in as a regular person joining the party, and he eventually gains the trust of Fred Hampton, and he becomes their security officer. Contrary to popular belief, people think that the Black Panther Party is a terrorist group, but in all honesty, the Black Panther Party just wanted equal rights for not just Black people, but for the poor and disenfranchised. We see here that they set up a free breakfast program, a free lunch program. In fact, the school breakfast program that feeds almost 15 million children in America today was authorized because of what the Black Panthers did with their free breakfast and lunch programs. They had their own ambulance service because the ambulance during the time, the 60s and 70s, were not coming into Black neighborhoods and being a service to the Black community. Fred Hampton in the Chicago area, he spoke about equality. He spoke about being proud of yourself. His main slogan was, "I am a revolutionary." And he just wanted better for his people. But we see not only is he a great orator, but he is also very charismatic, and he wholeheartedly believes in the cause that he's fighting for. Like I said, this wasn't just about Black people. He wanted to unite all those who were disenfranchised. So he, along with others in the Black Panther Party, went to other disenfranchised groups in Chicago. He went to the Young Patriots. They were a group of white people who they also felt disenfranchised. They were poor. They lived in poverty. They felt that the government and the police did nothing for them. And he's able to unite them. He also does the same with the Young Lords. This was a Puerto Rican group who, again, felt the same. Their people were getting killed by police. They were living in poverty. Basically, the system had forgotten them. And Fred Hampton united these three groups, and they all worked together to have a better life for their people. The film opens up with actual footage of protests that happened during that time, of Fred Hampton speaking. And then it cuts to J. Edgar Hoover, who was the head of the FBI at the time. He's played by Martin Sheen. I actually didn't recognize him at first. He does look different, but his voice gave it away. But here's a quote from J. Edgar Hoover that they show in the movie. He says, "The greatest single threat to our national security is the Black Panthers. It's Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers." He says more than the Chinese and more than the Russians. And most of us know how notorious J. Edgar Hoover was. the lies that he put out about different groups of people that disagree with the government. He labeled people that he didn't like communists. The FBI will put out fake propaganda, fake flyers, send fake letters to the opposing team of the people that they deemed a danger to the country. There's one scene where the Panthers go to the Crowns, another black activist group that he's trying to unite with, and they say they found flyers addressed to them calling them Uncle Toms and saying that they were infiltrated by the white man. And we see that the FBI were the ones who actually created these flyers and tried to pass them off as flyers from the Black Panthers. This is something that they've done countless numbers of times. They did this with Malcolm X, sending letters to the Nation of Islam, pretending that they were from Malcolm. They did the same thing with Martin Luther King. Basically, anyone that opposed them, they tried to fuel the fire. So this movie focuses more on O'Neal than it does Fred Hampton. We do get to see both sides. We see when Fred got arrested and was in jail. We see, him organizing. We see how he meets his girlfriend and how their relationship blossoms. But we do get to see more of the other side of O'Neal and what he's going through and what is happening with him as far as his relationship with the FBI. I will say this. He is the Judas in this movie. William O'Neal has gone down in history as Judas, Benedict Arnold, a traitor, a rat, whatever you want to call him. And he may be these things, but I think we also need to take into consideration he was a 17-year-old kid who was facing a jail sentence. And he really was manipulated and coerced into helping the FBI. We do see in this movie that he started having second thoughts. He was doubting what he was doing. He believed Fred Hampton and his cause, but he ultimately was backed into a corner and he did what he felt he had to do. Even if it was wrong, we see that this was not an easy decision for him to make. The FBI agent basically finesses him and he takes him out to dinner. He invites him to his home. He treats him like he's an actual friend. There is a scene in the movie where O'Neal even tells the agent that he didn't really have any role models growing up. You had Martin Luther King, you had Malcolm X, you had Muhammad Ali, and then he says that this agent became his role model. They even give him a car in order to get him to become the driver for Fred Hampton, because Fred Hampton was not driving at the time because he kept getting stopped by the police on bogus charges. I will say this about the movie. First of all, the acting is amazing. Daniel Kaluuyah and Lakeith Stanfield are amazing actors. I've seen them in multiple movies and they're always great. They're always able to transform and take on the character. Kaluuyah sounds just like Fred Hampton. If you get a chance, watch some of his interviews and some of his speeches that he gave. And with Lakeith, you do see the internal struggle that he has of wanting to save himself, but also not want to hurt the cause. Like I said, this was a hard movie to get through, especially seeing just some of the lengths, not just the government, but the Chicago PD and even the Attorney General took in order to disband this group. Some people may think they took dramatic licenses with some of the scenes, like when the cops blew up the Black Panther building. But these were things that actually happened. There are actual eyewitness accounts of these things happening. And unfortunately, these things are still happening today. And as you see, back then, like it is now, not much is being done to change it. Officials are still getting away with committing crimes under the guise of law. It was just beautifully written. It tries to stick to the facts. And it makes sure that the audience knows what's going on. It lets you see both sides. Some movies, they would just show you, Fred Hampton's side, and he was this great leader, and everyone else was just terrible. But we see William O'Neal, his struggle and his side, and what's going on with him. I do recommend this movie. I think it's a great story. It's a great commentary. This is American history that everyone should know about. But like I said, some may struggle with getting through this movie, especially the last 20 minutes of the movie. I was really dreading getting to those last 20 minutes because we show when the police come in and assassinate Fred Hampton. His girlfriend, who was 8 months pregnant at the time and who is still alive, she's given several statements of what happened that night. The police fired 99 shots and the Black Panther only fired 1. There were several people in the apartment, but only 1 shot was fired from their end. We also see that the FBI, they want O'Neal to drug Fred Hampton's drink so that he won't wake up when they come in to storm his apartment. They also get O'Neal to draw out the floor plans of the apartment so they know exactly where to go when they come in. Fred Hampton was just 21 years old when he was murdered by the police in his sleep, and his girlfriend and his son are still alive today. So this is something that still affects us today. These people are still alive. These officers are still alive. Hampton's girlfriend's still alive. His son is only 51 years old. We do get, at the end of the movie, they do tell us what happened to Fred Hampton's family, to the Black Panther Party, and also to William O'Neal. William O'Neal stayed an informant for the FBI for another 21 years after the murder of Fred Hampton. And it wasn't until the 21 years later that he gave his first and only interview about the whole situation. This interview is called Eyes on the Prize, and I recommend you check it out. It is on YouTube. I'll link it down below so you guys can watch that. Pretty sure this was a hard thing for him to live with those 21 years, knowing that he was responsible, and no one really knew that he was responsible until later on. And it also lets us know at the end of this movie that night after giving the interview at 2 in the morning, William O'Neal commits suicide. And then he ran out into the street, into the expressway, and was hit by a car and died. His uncle also gave an interview right after saying this wasn't the first time he tried to kill himself. So I'm guessing this interview was probably just way too much for him. He got it off his chest and he decided to end his life. It's very sad on all counts because the Black Panther Party and the movement was severely damaged by the death of Fred Hampton. And then we have this young kid who was manipulated by the government and used as a pawn to stop people for just wanting better for their lives. So, but I can go on all day about this subject. I recommend you guys check this out. It is a great watch. And in all honesty, if you can watch Schindler's List, The Pianist, Four Colored Girls, The Nightingale, movies that deal with very deep and dark subject matter, you can watch this. Even though it's difficult to watch, it has great storytelling. And it lets us know about the history that's gone on. So guys, that was my review for Judas and the Black Messiah. Don't forget to check it out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I release new videos. I hope you guys have a great day.